What's up everyone, it's Caddy with Money Investing. Welcome on board for another Market Open live stream here. We are ready to go and start our very important week because inflation is going to be coming out tomorrow. We will be live a little bit earlier than usual, so I will be live at around 8 a.m. Eastern to cover that inflation report. The markets right now are just moving a little bit higher in anticipation of those numbers. QQQ is up over 40 basis points right now. We've got the Dow Jones slightly up over 25 basis points, and the SPY is up almost 0.5%, with the yields kind of leveling off now. It's down over 1%, trading at just over 3.2%. So welcome on board, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure that you drop a like and also give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and watch the screen. Just want to make sure the audio and the video is working well. And we should be all set. Tesla here is up almost 50 basis points right now, back over to $301. We got Nvidia up over 36 basis points. We got Apple pushing up very nicely. It's up over 1% pre-market, and AMD is also pushing up over 28 basis points. So some of the upgrades and downgrades before we go over to the economic calendar here. So Piper Sandler upgrades Carvana to overweight from neutral. They pretty much mentioned, I think, that it is grossly undervalued right now, and they see a lot of upside potential for this company. UBS reiterates Costco as a buy. We got Cowen reiterating Roblox as underperform. Morgan Stanley reiterates Walmart as overweight. We got JP Morgan reiterating Apple as overweight. We got UBS reiterating Nike as a buy as well. Mizuho downgrades Adobe to neutral from a buy. They do report earnings later this week. And they basically mentioned that from our checks that they've been running, that this quarter will be a more difficult environment than expected, even allowing for a challenging macro environment as well. We got Citi downgrading Occidental Petroleum to neutral. We got Piper Sandler reiterating Chevron and Exxon as overweight. And then Bank of America upgrades Union Pacific to buy from neutral. Now, there was another catalyst that came out earlier today about Union Pacific, is that they actually announced, today is the 12th, right? So they actually announced in a press release saying that they're going to pretty much put an embargo on some of the commodities because of a strike that is supposedly going to happen this Friday. And there's going to be 90,000 workers that are pretty much going on this strike. Could be possibly one of the biggest rail strikes in over 30 years. And this could disrupt about a third of the U.S. rail sort of shipments industry, which could really disrupt the overall supply chains even further. So something to definitely pay attention to. That could be a catalyst later this week, but I haven't really seen a lot of updates or any type of coverage on that yet, but I did read up on that earlier on Union Pacific. RBC upgrades Vail to outperform from sector perform. So Vail is another stock that we are going to take a look at. We did analysis on another copper company, Southern Copper Corp, last week, but I will be taking a look at FCX and Vail and some of those other companies as well. So Rob Dent, who is a U.S. senior economist at Nomura, expects core CPI to be up 0.4% in August, or 6.1% on an annual pace on a year-over-year basis, which is going to be a little bit hotter than July's 5.9% increase. And on the headline front, he does expect a drop considering the drop in gasoline prices. So for the annual headline number year-over-year to come down to 8% from 8.5% in July that we saw. And then we think the big focus should be on the month-over-month core inflation, which, as I also pointed out, I think the core inflation is going to be a much more important number for us to look at instead of the headline number, because the Fed obviously takes a look at the core number and the month-over-month as well. It just feels like we're falling into a period of tug-of-war. While supply chain related prices like used vehicles and apparel should be falling, there will continue to be a pull higher in inflation from increases in rent related components as well. So, I've kind of voiced my concerns related to the rent. And we also talked about the month-over-month rental rates and how much they've been going higher according to the median national rent index, and it was up like 0.5%. So we'll find out tomorrow how much rents were up in the month of August and how much of an impact energy prices selling off had on overall headline inflation as well. It seems like the August CPI will have more of an impact on the November FOMC meeting rather than September. It's coming out in the blackout period. They've seen enough to tell them another 75 is probably warranted. And everything we're seeing on wages, services, inflation is telling you that the inflation situation is still pretty dire. It just feels like the bar for foregoing 75 basis points hike based on August CPI is very, very high. So you'd have to see a decline in core inflation. So yeah, that's literally, I think, on point. I mentioned that for us to see any type of a pivot expectation, for us to pretty much go back from 75 to 50 basis points expectations in September, the 21st FOMC meeting, the bar is really high, right? We need to see actual deflation in prices for the Fed to change their mind and go from 75 to 50 basis points. If you don't see a decline in inflation, if you don't actually see prices coming down month over month, then I think 75 basis points is pretty much a done deal. And this is going to make a bigger impact on the November meeting, where after this September meeting, everybody's going to try to anticipate what is the Fed going to do in the month of November. That's when the next meeting is going to be. No meeting in October. So this right here is going to be, again, the calendar. Again, tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we got the CPI and the core CPI both on a year-over-year and month-over-month basis. So we'll be covering that. And then on the 14th, we've got the PPI, Producer Price Index, and core PPI. And then we got retail sales coming out. We got, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, retail inventories, business inventories. We got a couple earnings scheduled as well. Adobe and Oracle. I think Oracle reports today, if I'm not mistaken, after the bell. And Adobe is going to be on Thursday. And then Friday is going to be quadruple witching. So that is going to be important, along with the University of Michigan consumer sentiment as well. So that is pretty much the entire week in front of us. Inflation, I think, is going to be front and center. More specifically, core CPI, core headline inflation, is going to be very important. Janet Yellen, who is the Secretary of U.S. Treasuries, was speaking earlier. It was very, very short conference, about 10 minutes long. Did get a chance to watch it. She pretty much mentioned that we are not in a recession right now, and the Fed will need a lot of great skill and good luck to pretty much have a soft landing for the U.S. She says that this is a concern, recession is a concern, but she again cited a very, very strong labor market. She said that there's 2 job vacancies for every 1 person looking for work. Unemployment rate is at a very, very low level, and this has been one of the fastest recoveries the U.S. has ever seen. And for those reasons, she believes that the U.S. is not in a recession, which, again, citing unemployment for making a judgment on recession seems a little bit looking at a lagging indicator. So we'll find out soon enough, what happens. Spencer says, Yellen, please retire. All right, so we do have the poll going on. So make sure that you do vote if you haven't already. And then we'll take a look at some individual stocks as well. Volatility here is slightly higher, 2.5%, although a red candle, but on a green day. Just goes to show that we did open higher. We are starting to close down a little bit, but we'll see how VIX trades. Oil prices are back. This is the last thing we wanted to see, but we're back over $87. I did have an alert go off, and this right here was a resistance. You can see the first time we actually got rejected, we got tagged at that level at $87 per barrel. This is something that we were paying attention to last week and the weeks before that. We got a nice breakdown. We kind of curled back up and then got rejected for the first time. The second time we actually broke out. This time around, that's where we are at over 88 to $89 per barrel, up over 2.6%. So we'll go ahead and turn this level back into a support. And actually, Janet Yellen also mentioned in the call earlier that she would not be surprised if oil prices, gas prices do kind of spike in the winter, as of course we still have those geopolitical tensions to deal with. Russia is still cutting off oil and gas supplies over to Europe, and of course the demand is going to be much, much higher in the winter months. So we'll see. I mean, we're pretty much in fall. I don't know what's the official date for when we enter fall, when summer is over. I can't remember, but of course, as we get closer and closer to the winter time, oil prices are going to be very, very widely watched. So right now, just at $88 a barrel, and we'll continue to monitor this as well, starting to get a little bit of a breakout again. So $90 is going to be that next resistance. Okay, so Kevin says September 21st. Okay, so 21st, 22nd. All right, so after that, obviously it's going to be officially. True says he won the green mic. It is coming. I promise. It is happening. It's just that we need a little bit more opportunities as a community, I think, and then we'll switch over to a green mic. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at the poll here. So we got 66% expecting the markets to be higher, so green versus 20% red, and about 13% expecting the markets to be flat. So yeah, very, very bullish sentiment overall from everyone, so that's good to see. And I think that's all going to be built upon a very good inflation print, right? If you get a very strong inflation print, I think the market's going to celebrate that, even though I think the expectations for the September meeting are pretty much pegged at around 75 basis points. The last time I checked, over 90% probability for us to see a 75 basis point hike. If you do a check right now, I believe it's going to be around those levels, 90 to 92%. May come down a little bit, but it has been pretty up there for 75 basis points. So 88% right now is where we are at, and 12% is going to be for 50 basis points. So, even if inflation does, show us some very good improvements, I think the September is pretty anchored at 75, unless, of course, we see big deflation, which, by the way, Kathy would also tweeted earlier saying that there's big deflation. She once again cited a lot of things: copper prices, aluminum, used car prices, lumber prices, all those things she talked about and how they're down from all-time highs. And she also cited oil prices and all that stuff, kind of responding to Elon Musk's tweet of deflation. So we'll find out soon enough. Just 4 to 5 more months left into this year. And don't forget that this September 21st, we don't only know what the Fed is going to do in terms of the interest rate hike, but we also have the most important SEP, right? That's a summary of economic projections. So that is also going to come out. That's going to tell us more about what the Fed is guiding for, or what they're expecting in terms of 4 things, right? So employment, GDP, inflation, and interest rates. So all 4 things are going to guide more. So that's their projections, right? I think the last time they did that was back in like June. So it's been a while. So we'll get those updates on the 21st. All right, let's take a look at NEO. Apparently NEO was upgraded by Bank of America. It is up, almost 5%. So very, very nice move. That's good to see. On the daily chart, we have bounced very well off of that 1581, 1582 levels. So, this has been a very nice rally for NEO, something very similar to what we saw during the last earnings. Right now we're kind of approaching the biggest volume bar. Again, this is volume by price, so we're kind of getting up there at around $20. So we'll see how NEO trades intraday today. And then a resistance, of course, sitting all the way up to $22, $24. We've also got that 200 simple moving average sitting for NEO all the way up there. So those right there are going to be some resistance levels to watch, but very, very nice move so far for NEO coming in. This right here, again, is going to be the year-to-date chart across the board for all sectors and all industries and everything put together. We do have the 10-year yields still up over 103%. We got volatilities up over 37%. Energy still up over 40%, although oil prices have pretty much given up on most of their gains. They're only up 13%. And that's after the rally that we've seen. I mean, at one point when they were down to $81, they were only up like 2 to 3% on the year. So pretty crazy to see that, oil prices pretty much gave up all of their gains of 2022. They were back down to simply 0%. But now they've kind of regained momentum again, back over $87 per barrel. All right, so I'm going to end this poll, and we're going to start a new one for inflation. 65%, over 200 votes, so that's good. A lot of bullish sentiment in the markets today. So inflation tomorrow. All right, let's see. We're just going to do for core inflation, all right? So core inflation tomorrow. Let's just do month over month increase, month over month flat, and then month over month decline. Because the way I think it's going to be set up is headline, we know. I think headline, we know that we're going to see very modest increase or even possibly no change or decline. And year over year, it's going to come down. For core, things are a little bit trickier because, rent is going to play a bigger role for core. And then other things like used car prices, apparel, all those things have been rolling over, right? As all these retailers are giving up huge discounts, those prices are coming down, but shelter is going up. So, that could be a little bit tricky. And core is what the Fed is also focused on. And that's what I'm also watching from a spread standpoint. And I want the Fed funds futures interest rates to be higher than core inflation. And that's going to be a very, very strong buy signal for me personally. And right now that spread is still negative 3 to 4%. So we want to get up to that positive territory very, very soon. So yes, so Oscar, yes, the Fed does look out at PCE, core PCE more specifically, personal consumption expenditure. That's their preferred measure of inflation. But when we're talking about CPI, they're talking about core more than headline. Even in their speeches, they mentioned that we look at core inflation. So their preferred measure of inflation is PCE. but talking about consumer price index more on the consumer level, they pretty much focus on the core inflation part. So, Caddy, do you think testing June lows is the game? If inflation is unchanged, what do you think will happen, taking into account JP last speeches? If inflation is unchanged, meaning that, we don't see any changes month over month, then I think that might be a little bit of a bullish sign, just considering that, back in July, we didn't really see any change, right? Prices didn't budge. They didn't go higher, they didn't go lower. Core obviously went up a little bit, but the markets really took that as a big signal as inflation improving. So really, if we see flat to decline in prices, I think that's going to be a big bullish signal. If we see inflation accelerating again, then that is not going to be good. So if you see inflation unchanged, then I think that is going to be some improvement. Obviously not a whole lot, but we need to see improvement. Yeah, Oscar says don't fight the Fed. That is very true. There's no point fighting the Fed here. Go along with the trend, and the trend obviously has been very bearish for the markets overall in the grand scheme of things, but we have seen some rallies here and there. But until these things resolve, I think it's going to be stuck in a range where we kind of push higher, come down, push higher, come down, because the Fed has not hinted anything remotely close to pivoting or just kind of slowing down or stopping or cutting rates. And the markets, I really don't think they should be anticipating right now, not until inflation is at least somewhat back under control. So, all right, about 1:30 left. I'm going to switch over to the actual indices here, and we are all set. Tomorrow's a big day. It's a big day. I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more about inflation tomorrow. So the Westerosi says, my guess is that headline CPI is going to increase during the winter months as energy prices rise again. People will be whipsawed up and down for the next few months. Yeah, that's possible. Again, energy prices are going to be the big wild card going into winter, and how that gets affected with everything that's going on more geopolitical front, and then the demand that comes in with the lack of storages or the limited supplies that Europe has. Obviously, that's going to put some pressure on overall oil and gas prices as well. So, all right, so let's see here. All right, so we got about 30 seconds left. I'm going to answer all the questions here in just a minute, everyone. Let's take a poll here. 44% expecting core inflation to decline. That is really, really optimistic in my view. I think, that is incredible. I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging, but we'll find out. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised. 44%. Very, very optimistic. All right, so off we go. S&P is up over 0.5%, so we're just under 4,100. We've got the NASDAQ opening up higher here any second now. So there we go. We're up over 0.5%, and the Dow Jones also pushing up 127 points. Apple has been one of the leaders in the pre-market rally here. Apple is up over 1.3%, getting up to 160 almost. Nvidia is flat, and Tesla also starting to push up. Wow, look at that. Look at those green candles coming in for Tesla. Almost at $302. I would say the pre-market high is going to be at around $302.18. So if you can break above this level, then that'd be nice. That's a pre-market resistance where we got rejected at for Tesla. So we'll see if we actually do break out above $302 for Tesla. AMD here, unfortunately, selling off. So I read earlier as well that the Biden administration is putting up new curbs for exports over to China when it comes to chip tools. And again, kind of putting those bans in place or license requirements in place for the artificial intelligence and supercomputing industries over in China. And then pretty much saying that the U.S. corporations or U.S. chip companies can't specifically export certain products or tools and supplies and things like that. And I think the three companies that were most affected by it today's announcement, where I think were Lamb Research, Applied Materials, and then one more company that I forgot. But then, of course, AMD and NVIDIA had their own letters sent to them last month, which affected NVIDIA quite a bit. It was down over 8%. AMD not so much because the revenues don't get affected all that much for for AMD, I meant. NEO to the moon, so let's take a look. How is NEO doing? So there we go, up over 4.7%. One thing again I want to point out is that we're kind of testing our strongest volume profile bar here. So again, let me just expand that a little bit because we do have new information. There we go. We're literally at that price at $20, right? That's the most volume NEO is traded at or has been traded at in terms of price. So this is volume by price, and we are literally at $20 right now. So we'll see how it trades. This could start to act as a support here for NEO. If the buyers can really step in here, considering the volumes, the majority of the volume has been traded around these levels. So, and then of course, some near-term resistance to pay attention to for the stock is going to be around here, sitting roughly at 2150, 2130 levels, because we have gotten rejected here like 2 to 3 times in the past. So very, very nice move so far, 6.5%, 2150 next resistance, all the way up to inside this red rectangle at $22, $24. We're also kind of approaching our 200 simple moving average. Oscar, would you sell a covered call here for NEO? Well, it's up a lot. It's up 7%. So yeah, I mean, if I had the opportunity, I would. Just considering what your strikes are going to be and expirations, make sure that when you're selling a covered call, your strike is above your cost basis, and you're comfortable kind of letting go of your shares at that price. So. All right, so Nasdaq's up over 77 basis points. We're starting to see a little bit of momentum upwards, but again, first 15-20 minutes, we just got to let the volatility settle down. This is also a quadruple witching week, so volatility could be a little bit higher than usual. The one index to watch for that is going to be the T-Vol index, which we also talked about during our other market update, but this is absolutely guaranteed to spike on Friday, so that's going to be up to 300%, and volatility could be a lot higher during that time. So obviously be careful if you're trading options. PayPal pushing up here. So let's see. Let's just run through our watch list very quickly and see what's actually moving. So among the FANG Mint stocks, we do have AMD slightly down about 1%. Look at Apple, almost 2%. I don't think there was any catalyst on Apple that resulted in such a strong move here. Apple did get like an upgrade from JP Morgan, was it? Yep, so JP Morgan reiterates Apple as an overweight. That's about it. And then other than that, I didn't think I read anything that was instrumental to moving Apple up 2% here on the day, but quite a bit of a rally, almost up to 160, 161 here. And Tesla's up to $303. So again, I've got a couple puts on Tesla. Again, sold puts. That's a bullish bet. It's up 1%, so that's nice to see. And then we got Netflix, Amazon, Apple, all pushing higher. And then the ones that are really pushing up, NEO is up over 8%. So NVIDIA and AMD, those are like two chip stocks really getting affected. I want to take a look at the semi watch list first to see how they're responding to the news. So again, Lamb Research is down 1%. AMAT is not down that much. Applied Materials only down 39-40 basis points. And then some of the other chip companies also pulling back. So again, there was a news that came out this morning about the Biden administration kind of putting on new plans of curbing exports to China. So that might be the catalyst driving the chip stocks lower. So NEO obviously up over 8%, very nice. Fubo, AMC pushing higher. We got Upstart up 2.4%. And you got Zim Integrated rebounding a little bit, up over 2%. PayPal's up almost 2%, back up to $98. That's very nice to see. $250. Oh my God. $250 by the end of this year. That is the wildest prediction I've ever seen. 250 is like a 57% increase, mate. For the markets, that's going to be crazy. I mean, if Apple actually goes up... Wow, that is a bold target right there. Tesla Now we're gonna get the wildest targets in the shortest possible time. Give me your wildest targets predictions by the end of this year. What, Tesla 500, 64% rally? What, Amazon back to $1,000 and Google back to like what, 500 or something? SPY 200. That's gonna be 50% decline. But yeah, no, Apple definitely has the potential. Of course, we've got new products and the holiday season coming up. So again, fourth quarter is pretty much known for holiday spending. So they are pretty much scheduled to do really well. Even advertising companies could see a bump in Q4. But yeah, 57-60% gain. That I don't think so. But yeah, Nvidia and AMD really just kind of leveling off here, just really getting sold off pretty aggressively at the moment. So those are two sort of chip stocks. Pretty much all chip stocks are kind of hurting right now. Tesla is kind of leveling off as well a little bit. But Apple is the only one that's kind of holding up this rally. If Apple starts to roll over, then the markets probably will. I mean, they already are without Apple. But SPY or S&P 500 up over 0.5%. We got the Dow still up 120 points and the NASDAQ up over 0.5% as well. All right, so let's take a look. All right, LABU. All right, so it's down 2.4%. Very, very good last few days. It's rallied a little bit over 30%. That's XBI coming down to as low as $81. So not quite at the support at $78, $79. But definitely also getting a very nice move. It's almost at that 200 SMA. It's gotten rejected at this level in the past, like back in August. So really, I mean, it depends on where XBI goes, right? If XBI goes higher, $97 was the original target. We almost got up to 95, 96 here. Then we sold off. If you can make a move back up to 97, then of course LABU can be in the $14, $15, $16 range again. But if it doesn't, then of course $78 is the one to watch, and LABU could be back down to $78 a share. Around those levels. So last week was very strong for the market. So we got to be a little bit more careful for the downside, right? And of course, if the downside does happen this week, then I'm ready to sell some more puts. That's pretty simple. Just still not dollar cost averaging or still not being an aggressive buyer, but just trading options in this environment. Shop. So, we already had a trade idea on this. It's up another 78 basis points. Grabbing here at these levels would be a little bit, one-to-one risk reward. So if you kind of bring this up a little bit here, this is where your risk reward profile would set up, right? So the best trade opportunities obviously do occur when you have the lowest risk possible potential and the highest upside potential. And that was, obviously when Shopify is at a support. Getting in when the move has already happened, or it's like halfway through it's happened, now you've got a risk profile which is about 1-to-1, right? Where you're risking 15% to make 15%. That's not very favorable. So in these situations, then you're better off just looking at other opportunities in the markets instead of just chasing this one in expectations that it could get up to $40. So yeah, that's going to be the risk reward, whether it's favorable or not. That's what we really have to analyze. In mode $40 soon. So again, in mode, let's take a look. If there's any other companies you want me to take a look at, I'm happy to. Alex says wildest targets are allowed until Jerome Powell speaks or CPI comes out high tomorrow. Yeah. So in mode here, $40 is still going to be that resistance, right? So it's still going to be that level to pay attention to. Of course, we got a bit of a pullback after a very strong 90% rally. Then we got a bit of a bounce from that 50 moving average, and then a very nice move up. So VUG, so again, VUG is kind of more correlated with, how the Nasdaq is doing or how the S&P is doing. So I would prefer for you to look at those indexes instead of just analyzing VUG, because the support resistance really is not going to be super applicable to VUG. In my opinion, you're better off just looking at the Nasdaq ETF, QQQs, or the Nasdaq index to better understand where VUG could end up. And looking at the QQQs. Let me see if I have that chart open. Nope, I don't. So yeah, looking at the Nasdaq, I mean, the next few resistance levels that we are really paying attention to, I believe the ones that we talked about were around $313. So it's possible that we do get a little bit more upside, 1.5%, close to 2%, before we kind of enter an area of resistance, where the supply could be a little bit higher, and of course, inflation numbers tomorrow. So for VUG, come down to $207 would mean that, $207 would mean it would need to, the Nasdaq would need to make a new low for the year. That would be like a 18% drop from these levels. It's possible. It's a possibility, right? But it's a very low probability outcome. That only happens, in my opinion, if inflation continues to accelerate. It really pushes up again. And the Fed continues to, tighten, and the economy starts to weaken. So, all right. So Nasdaq kind of rebounding back up, 76 basis points, back over 12,200. S&P is almost at 4,100. We got Apple very strong. We got Tesla also very strong, getting up to $304. That is a resistance for Tesla here, at least on the day. And then Nvidia also getting a little bit of a rebound. AMD is only down 1.5%. It's down to $84, $85 at the moment. But all the other, some of the more large cap tech stocks pushing higher very well. So that's where we are again. It's going to be a lot of anticipation for PayPal's up over $98, $99 here. Oil price is kind of leveling off at just over $87, and volatility is only up 2%. All right, SNPS. Let's take a look. Synopsis. All right. So, okay, so we got good revenue growth. So one of the things that I really like about TradingView now is that they've got earnings forecast, right? They've got very, very good histograms, bar graphs that pretty much project, what that earnings estimate is going to look like, and what that revenue forecast is also going to look like. So it seems like it is expected to grow really well, from $6.84 to $8.84, $10.15, $11.35, $13.25. The actual valuation, wow, so 50 times earnings is high, 10 times sales is also high. So valuation, without a doubt, really, really rich for this company. And then cash versus debt, they've got more cash than debt on the balance sheet, so they have a negative net debt, so that's really good. And then when it comes to shares outstanding, they haven't really issued any shares for the last 6-7 years. They've been pretty consistent at 155 million. So I would say just the valuation is a little bit of an issue for this company, because trading at 50 times earnings is really high. Let's take a look at SoFi forecast. Oscar says, all right, so we are at 643 right now, up over 1.5%. So very nice forecast for a gain on the day for SoFi. Okay, so we don't have a lot of forecasts. Earnings are actually expected to go positive by 2025, actually 2024. And this is going to be the revenue estimate for the next 3 to 4 years. Revenue estimated to go from 1 billion to as much as 3.6 billion. And then EPS is expected to go positive starting 2024. And it's pretty much on a very nice trend where it pretty much declines, and the earnings per share loss shrinks and then eventually turns the corner towards profitability. So Polestar did an analysis over the weekend for this company. It's up another 2%, so very, very nice move. I like it. It was really good. I think the revenue forecast, $17 to $20 billion is their forecast by 2025, 2026, I believe. And of course, based on, oh my God, Oscar, stop putting words in my mouth, man. Thank you for showing your most hated stock. I love SoFi. I'm gonna say it again. I love SoFi. It's just that you know what the things I'm waiting for is. But Polestar I like a lot in terms of what their forecast is, and 29,000 deliveries last year. They're guiding for another 60,000, close to 60,000 this year. They've got new models coming out. And I really like the look of those cars as well. I think Polestar is, I would definitely pick a Polestar above a Rivian or a Lucid. Lucid would be like number 3 on the list. Polestar would be above Lucid and Rivian in terms of design of the vehicle, of the electric vehicle. I really like their other, which one was it? Like it was a concept car for Polestar. I forgot what the name of that car was, but that one looks sick. That was really cool. But I don't think that's going to actually be released. But with the 5 Polestars, the one being discontinued, they still are on track to posting good revenues. It's just, when is the company going to show profitability? When are the margins going to get better? Those are some quantitative analysis things that I personally would like to wait and see until I establish a position or I become confident in their future potential. So SCCO, let's take a look. So again, Southern Corp, we did a analysis on this again over the weekend last week. Got me really interested on the commodities market and how copper prices are doing. So, we did analysis on this with exactly putting up the copper prices on top of this chart. And it was like literally the same pattern. It was the same thing, right? So if you come over here, you just add copper on a new price scale. Look at this chart. These are 2 really identical charts. They both go up and down at the same time. And this has been going on for such a long time, right? Since there was a little bit, they were going down just at a different percentage, but it's literally been at the same chart. They go up sideways and they've been coming down. And even right now, it's just a small rally you see. It's all because of copper prices. So we did analysis on this over the weekend. Make sure that you do check that out if you haven't already. But of course, the commodity prices, copper is going to be really, really affecting how this trades over the next several years out. But fundamentals definitely are very good for Southern Copper Corp. And I didn't know that there was 37 to 40% margins, 30 to 40% margins, net income margins in copper. Like that's good profit margin. That's like more than what Apple makes. Apple has like a 20% margin and a copper company has like a 31% net income margin. That's crazy. All right, so let's see here. So Ash, all right, let's take a look at Chevron and Exxon earning forecast. All right, so they are expected to go up in 2022 and then on a consistent decline, right? So this is something that we have talked about, when we brought up the Seeking Alpha stuff as well. And this has been on the quarter, right? I mean, if you take a look at where they were back in Q3 of 2020, Q4 of 2020, let me just point out how they've done that. So, you see a very, very strong growth here. Like this has been phenomenal, right? Just as oil prices went up, it was just insane, right? How much profitability they had. I mean, this last quarter was kind of like a record for them. And then they're expected to kind of come down on a quarter-over-quarter basis. So and that makes a lot of sense. And annually speaking as well, they're expected to come down as well because the expectations are for the oil prices to stabilize and for this type of growth to not be sustainable over the long term. But we'll find out. Depends very much on oil prices and how they do. So NASDAQ up over 81 basis points. We got the Dow up over 200 points. S&P up over 4,100, back over 4,100 here. Tesla is just over $304. We got Nvidia, that is slightly down. We got Apple pushing up almost 2% in the day. I think AMD is the only one that's kind of struggling at the moment, but everything else seems to be pushing up. Enphase cooling off a little bit, down 2%. We got Cloudflare down 1%. Vertex, Roblox slightly pulling back, but everything else very nicely up. NEO's up 9% today. Very strong move up to back up to almost $21 here. We're approaching a big resistance for NEO. We'll see if we actually break out over $22, $24, right? This is a big resistance that we're approaching. More so inside this red rectangle. That is going to be a big level. for Neo. So we'll see if we actually get a breakout. Will AMD retest 73? Let's see. It could. It's possible. I think $72, $73. It's possible. Right now we're just getting rejected at $85. And it really depends on what type of macro catalyst do we get for the overall chip sector, because I feel like if there's a big transition happening from the current administration with respect to how they want to operate with all these chip companies and how much they want to allow these chip companies to export over to China all their technology and their research. So if there's more headwinds like those, I think the best thing that could happen is, of course, if there's more headwinds like these and the entire chip sector gets affected, and AMD, which has very little exposure when it comes to the revenue aspect of it, coming down as well, right? So fundamentals will be more or less unchanged. Even last month when we got that news, Nvidia was down 8%, AMD not so much, because it didn't affect AMD at the same scale as what it does to Nvidia. So yeah, Alex says, what is going on with AMD? They're only down. They're the only stock down. So any word on LEB? Are you playing it? So Talib, I did analysis on XPI a little bit earlier. Again, $70 at $79 is going to be that support level that we're watching. I do have both shares and covered calls on this stock, so I'm hedged if obviously the stock comes down. But if it goes higher, then great. I'm happy to get called away at those strikes. I've got $15 and $20 strikes, which are doing really well because we're really, really far away from being in the money. So if the stock goes down, that's fine. I collect profits on the covered call. If it goes higher, then that's also fine. I get called away on the upside, which I want to get rid of some of the shares for LEBU anyway. I've been trimming a lot, but just have a very small position left on LEBU. The market's really in the mood today. The market's really in the mood to push higher. Downstart is up today, so let's take a look at Upstart. I did get an alert; it was up like 5% or something. There we go, 5.6%, getting a nice bounce all the way up to $29. Next resistance at $41, $42. Upstart does still have very good premiums for CSPs, so I've definitely been tempted for Upstart, but yeah, you never know with earnings for Upstart, with pre-announcements. You never know. I mean, they could still come out and be like, oh, you know what? We're not gonna be able to hit our estimates that we have guided down 4 times already. We won't be able to hit that, and the stock's gonna drop 20%. But it does have good premiums. I was looking at the lowest possible strike. I think it was like $12.50. After assignment, the cost would be at around $11.50. For that, it would need to drop over 50%, which I think we also talked about it during a live stream, right? Can Upstart drop down to $12 by the end of this year? I think the answer was, or the consensus was, that it can. I think there is a possibility that it can drop 60% in that time. Christopher, sell the news tomorrow on CPI. Well, depends. If CPI comes in good, if we see core inflation come down month over month and headline and year over year also comes down, then, well, we're looking at potentially few more days of this rally kind of extending. So all we really need is a good print. We need a good print on inflation. We need a very good print. Yeah, the market could be pricing in good CPI data for tomorrow. Okay, you're absolutely right. I think the market's anticipating good numbers. Apple especially up 2.3%, up to 161. Man, OLX 250 prediction is not looking too far now, is it? Imagine we actually get up to 250 for Apple by the end of this year. That would be the craziest market rally, craziest bull market for the stock market. So can CPI be manipulated by the Fed or the government? Yeah, no, I don't think. I mean, I know there's going to be debates about the data's manipulated, the data's this and that, but this is all we have. Unless people want to go out to actual grocery stores and start doing surveys every month, which is going to be extremely time consuming and almost impossible to do, this is the best we have. So you got to take it, and that's what the market is going to react to. So So that's, by the way, one more thing I wanted to mention, I forgot about this completely. I updated our Google spreadsheet today. So this right here is our spreadsheet. Let me reload that. So there you go. You got live prices here. This is all the fair value calculations. You can check that out over here. This is all of our fair value calculators. One more thing I wanted to point out, that I've actually linked it to our specific historical financial spreadsheet as well. So if you click on Amazon, it'll bring you to the spreadsheet, which has all the historical financials for Amazon, right? Similarly, if you come over to Tesla, you click on Tesla here, it'll bring up to Tesla's spreadsheet all the historical financials over here. So all these spreadsheets down below for individual stocks are going to be available. So all the members can access that. And we'll continue to add more spreadsheets, I promise. This is literally going to be our go-to database for all stock analysis. So we're going to add like hundreds, and I'm saying like hundreds, thousands even, spreadsheets are going to be added over time, and we'll continue to track these numbers, right? So you'll notice that 2022 is these estimates. They will get updated every year, and then we'll add 2023, 2024, 2025, and all the margins and the cash flows and the shares and the balance sheet and everything is going to be in there. So that is available. Feel free to check it out. So anyway, yes, we do have fair value, and okay, so you want a difference between the fair value and the market price. Okay, so we can do that as well. Because right now we do have the live price over here, and I do have my fair value all the way to the right. So I'll add that as well. I think that's a good suggestion. We'll add the difference there as well. Sandeep says, why not make a website instead of spreadsheet? We can do that too. I've been thinking about it. But again, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of work. And right now, I was talking about this earlier with one of our members, September, I'm kind of like swamped right now with a lot of things and a couple other projects. But eventually, yes, we can kind of build out a database of stocks, historical fundamentals and financials, and kind of if it checks off our boxes or not. And I think that's a great idea. But it's just, as I'm sure you all know, with website development and that process is like really time consuming. So it's just, it's something I want to do in the future, but we'll get there. We'll get there soon. Right now, we just got to work with free Google spreadsheets, which I think are going to be just as good. And I've always been using spreadsheets from school. I think it's really, really good way to kind of, look at the data all at once. So I like it. All right, let's see here. So how is Take-Two Interactive doing? Yes, GTA 6. It's like we've been waiting for GTA 6 for so long. It is pushing up 2%. It's been mostly range bound. 133 is a resistance, supported 118. So this has also been on a very nice rally here. This would have been a nice trade idea. Just didn't really get there in enough time. Kind of rallied before I even had a chance to kind of check it out. But resistance 134 is going to be that level for now. It is still down quite a bit, but this is also one of those companies that's got great fundamentals. They are expected to kind of slow down a little bit in 2022 in terms of earnings, but then accelerate again, and revenue is expected to continue to grow, stabilize a little bit starting 2024, 2025. But as soon as GTA 6, any type of announcement comes out, I think this stock should really do well. I mean, this company should really do well from just the sales. I mean, GTA 5 was just an incredible game. I think one of the top selling games in the world. So here we go. Nasdaq's up over 1%. Apple really driving this move higher, 2.7% green. We got Nvidia pushing up. We got AMD slightly recovering, still down. So second best selling game of all time. What's the first? Is it Call of Duty? The best selling game in the world of all time? Minecraft? No way. Is it really? Wow. Wow, really? That's crazy. I didn't know that. I have never really played Minecraft. Rumble SPACs. So we can take a look at that as well. Again, we're looking for new ideas, new stocks to analyze as well. But this is a company that sure I can add to my watch list, and we can possibly do some analysis in the future. Arnold says play it and stream it. Maybe on a different channel, not on this. I'm sorry you have missed out. Yeah, never really got into it. Maybe I'll try it someday. But anyway, so everyone, that's gonna be it for today. I just wanted to give you guys some updates on the markets and of course the economy and what's going on. Tomorrow is the big day. Don't forget, we're gonna be live earlier than usual, so I'll be live at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll kind of break down the previous inflation reports. We'll break down some of the other updates that are coming out, and then of course at 8:30 a.m. Eastern we'll be live to listen in on the earnings call, not the earnings call, the inflation reading and the call from live from CNBC, and of course take a look at the market's reaction as well. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you drop a like and of course subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. We talk a lot about fundamental, technical analysis, stocks and options, and macroeconomics as well. And the link to our Patreon Discord is going to be down in the description below. Again, if you want to access the entire spreadsheet, so we already have people joining. That's great. So yeah, again, if you want to access all the financial history of these companies, and I promise there will be hundreds and thousands of stocks added to the spreadsheet over time. So it's going to be available for all. Link's going to be down in the description below. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. As always, happy investing. Have a great green day, and I'll see you all in tomorrow's live stream bright and early for the inflation print.